The underground parking garage was almost deserted, wrapped in a silence so heavy that every sound echoed like a secret. The fluorescent lights above flickered lazily, leaving long stretches of shadow between rows of parked cars. It was nearly midnight, the hour when even the busiest cities seemed to pause and breathe. A tall man walked slowly down the ramp, his polished shoes tapping softly against the concrete. His navy overcoat hung loose, his hands resting inside the pockets. His name was Ethan Carter, though no one here knew him by that name. To the world outside, he was the CEO of Carter Industries, one of the largest tech companies in the city. But tonight, he wasn't the CEO. Tonight, he was just Ethan, moving quietly, dressed like any tired office worker leaving after a long day. He had come undercover, not to spy on others, but to rediscover what people were really like when they weren't performing for power. In the boardrooms, people spoke to him differently, measured words, fake smiles, endless pretenses. But down here, in the silence of the night, truth had a way of showing itself. And then he saw it. A faint glow flickered near the far wall of the garage. At first, Ethan thought it was the reflection of a headlight, but as he walked closer, he realized it came from a small flashlight propped against a steel bottle. Its beam illuminated a young woman sitting cross-legged on the cold floor, a notebook balanced on her lap, a thick textbook open in front of her. She looked completely lost in her work. Earphones dangled loosely from her hoodie, though no music played. She was scribbling notes quickly, pausing only to tilt her head and read again under the weak light. Stray strands of brown hair slipped across her face, but she didn't brush them away. Her focus was unshaken. Ethan slowed his pace, curiosity tugging at him. Who was she, and why was she studying here, in the corner of a dim parking garage, long after everyone else had gone home? For a moment, he simply watched. There was something almost sacred about the scene, a battle between darkness and determination. The world above might have overlooked her, but down here, under this beam of light, she was fighting for something. Knowledge, maybe survival, maybe both. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, almost hesitant. "You always study like this?" The woman startled, nearly dropping her pen. Her eyes flicked up to him, wide and uncertain. For a moment, she seemed ready to pack up and run. Then, realizing he wasn't a threat, she straightened slowly. I didn't hear you come in," she said softly. Her voice carried the roughness of exhaustion, but also a quiet strength. "Yes, sometimes. It's the only time I get." Ethan's eyes shifted to the textbook in front of her. Advanced Business Analytics. He raised a brow. That's not exactly light reading. A faint smile tugged at her lips. "It's for certification. If I pass, I can finally apply for a better position. I've been working here all day, then overtime at another place. By the time I get home, it's too late, so I study here before I leave." Her tone wasn't bitter, just factual, honest. "What's your name?" Ethan asked. She hesitated for a moment, then said, "Anna Mitchell." "Nice to meet you, Anna," he replied simply, offering no title, no introduction of his own. He wanted her to see him as just another late-night stranger. Anna glanced down at her flickering flashlight. Its beam trembled, struggling against the darkness. She sighed. "This old thing barely lasts anymore, but I make it work." Ethan studied her quietly. Something about her reminded him of his younger self. Nights when he too had stayed up with secondhand books, pushing himself toward a future no one else believed in. After a pause, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a protein bar he hadn't touched all day. He set it gently on the edge of her notebook. Anna blinked at it, surprised. "You don't have to," she murmured. "I know," Ethan said softly, "but I want to." For a moment, their eyes met. In that silence, an unspoken understanding passed between them. The CEO who had everything, and the working woman who had almost nothing, both carrying memories of struggle, both searching for something more. Ethan took a step back, his voice steady. "Not everyone notices effort when it's hidden in the dark, Anna. But that doesn't mean it isn't there, or that it doesn't matter." Anna looked at him, unsure of what to say. And then, just as quietly as he had appeared, Ethan turned and began to walk away, his figure fading into the shadows of the garage. But Anna didn't return to her notes right away. She sat there, staring at the protein bar now resting on her book, and wondered who that man really was, and why his words felt like more than just kindness. Anna sat frozen for a long moment, the pen still between her fingers, her eyes locked on the protein bar resting over her open notes. She whispered to herself, almost like a confession. Why did his words feel like more than just kindness? She shook her head, forcing herself back to her notes. But the pages blurred, the formulas and charts dissolving into a haze. That stranger's voice echoed in her mind. Not everyone notices effort when it's hidden in the dark, Anna. But that doesn't mean it isn't there. The next night, Anna returned to the same corner of the parking garage. Her backpack sagged heavily on her shoulders, filled with papers, books, and the weight of another exhausting day. She slid down against the wall, pulled out her flashlight, and opened her notes again. She didn't expect him to come back, but he did. Ethan walked down the ramp almost the same way as before, quiet, measured, his hands buried in the pockets of his coat. This time, Anna noticed him earlier. She lowered her pen slightly, debating whether to greet him or stay silent. "You again," she said finally, half smiling. "You make it sound like I'm intruding," Ethan replied gently, stopping a few feet away. Anna shrugged. "Maybe you are." Then, after a beat, she added, "But maybe not." He gave a faint smile and nodded toward her notes. "Still pushing through?" "Still pushing," Anna said, tapping her pencil against the textbook. "It's not easy, but I don't really have a choice. I promised my mom I'd do better than she ever could. She worked 2 jobs her whole life. I want her to see me build something more." Her voice wavered for the first time, raw and unfiltered. Ethan felt something twist inside him. He had heard countless polished speeches in boardrooms, but none of them carried the weight of this one simple truth. "You know," he said quietly, "I think that's exactly why you'll make it. Because you're not just doing it for yourself." Anna blinked at him, as though startled by the depth in his tone. She didn't know who this man was, why he came to the garage every night, or why he cared. But his words landed in a way no one else has ever had. The days became a rhythm. Every evening, after the office lights upstairs dimmed and the last employees drove away, Anna would take her place in the corner. And almost without fail, Ethan would pass by. Sometimes, he brought nothing but conversation. Other times, he would leave small things on her desk, a pen, a pack of sticky notes, once even a secondhand book on problem solving that looked well used but valuable. Anna began to notice details about him too. His shoes were polished but slightly worn at the edges. His coat, though elegant, had been folded many times, as if he didn't care for perfection. And when he spoke, there was something deliberate in his voice, not rehearsed, not shallow. One rainy night, as thunder echoed through the garage and water streamed down the entrance ramp, Anna shivered against the cold concrete. Her flashlight flickered weakly, threatening to die completely. She muttered under her breath, frustrated, "Not tonight, please." Ethan appeared out of the shadows, carrying an umbrella dripping with rain. Without a word, he set it open above her, shielding her from the chill. Then he knelt down beside her, his coat brushing against the wet floor. "That light won't last forever," he said softly, glancing at the fading beam. Anna let out a tired laugh. "Neither will I, at this rate." "Don't say that," Ethan replied firmly. "You're stronger than you think." For the first time, she looked at him fully, meeting his eyes in the dim glow. She saw no judgment, no pity, only belief. And belief was something she hadn't felt from anyone in a very long time. As the rain beat against the roof above them, Ethan reached into his bag and set something on her notebook. A small, worn paperback, Understanding Algorithms, a practical guide. Anna stared at it, stunned. "You don't even know me. Why are you doing this?" Ethan's reply was calm, almost whispered. "Because once, someone did the same for me." The garage was silent again, except for the storm outside. Anna's hand hovered over the book, her chest tightening as if her world had shifted just slightly, but profoundly. That night, long after Ethan had walked away, Anna sat staring at the book, her mind filled with questions. Who was he really? And why did it feel like, in those brief moments, the weight of her struggles didn't seem so unbearable anymore? Anna sat in the dim garage, the storm still echoing faintly above. The book lay open across her lap, its pages marked with handwritten notes from some earlier owner. She traced the underlined words with her finger, whispering to herself, "Who is he really? And why does it feel like he sees me differently than anyone else ever has?" The days turned into weeks. Their meetings became routine, though neither ever called it that. Ethan always appeared just after her shift ended, walking with the same steady stride, carrying himself with an ease that seemed too natural for an ordinary man. And every night, Anna grew more curious about the stranger who never told her his full story. One evening, as Anna adjusted her flashlight, she asked carefully, "So, what do you actually do? You don't look like someone who belongs in a parking garage at midnight." Ethan chuckled softly, his gaze drifting toward the shadows. "Maybe I don't belong anywhere in particular. Let's just say, I've seen both sides of the world. The one that has everything, and the one that has almost nothing. I think the truth lies somewhere in between." Anna studied him for a long moment, searching for answers in his words. But his tone was calm, his face unreadable. Whoever he was, he carried layers she couldn't yet reach. Still, she found herself trusting him. One night, Ethan found her notebook half open, a photograph tucked inside. He lifted it gently. A middle-aged woman in a faded uniform stood smiling beside Anna, her arm wrapped tightly around her daughter's shoulders. "Your mom?" Ethan asked. Anna nodded. "She's the reason I'm here. She cleaned offices all her life, sometimes the very same ones I now work in. She used to tell me, 'Study harder than I ever could. Build a future I can't give you.' Every time I feel like giving up, I look at that picture." Ethan's chest tightened. He thought of his own father, a factory worker who had once stayed up late repairing broken radios on the kitchen table just to keep food on the table. He remembered the hunger, the doubt, the nights when success felt like a distant dream. He understood her more than she could ever know. But shadows do not stay silent forever. It started with whispers in the office upstairs. Someone had noticed Anna often leaving later than most employees, her tired frame carrying books down the stairwell. Another worker claimed she wasn't just studying, she was meeting someone. And then, one night, a grainy photograph appeared on the company's private group chat. Anna sitting cross-legged on the garage floor, and Ethan standing a few feet away, half-shadowed, half-illuminated by the dim light. The caption was cruel. "Looks like late-night tutoring comes with benefits." Within hours, the comments multiplied. Climbing the ladder, guess she found her shortcut. Working late or working smart. By the time Anna saw it, her hands trembled around her phone. The laughter, the suspicion, it all cut deeper than she expected. She had worked so hard to prove she was different, that her effort meant something. And now, in one careless post, it all felt tainted. That night, when Ethan walked toward her corner, Anna didn't look up. She shut her notebook quickly, her face pale. "Anna," he said gently. She forced a smile, though her eyes betrayed her. "I can't do this anymore." "What do you mean?" Her voice cracked. "People think I'm using you, that I'm only pretending to work hard because I have some secret connection. I can't fight their words, Ethan. They don't see my struggle, they only see the rumors." Ethan froze. He wanted to tell her the truth, that he was not just some stranger, not just a late-night passerby, but the very CEO of the company she worked for. That her dedication had moved him more than any polished resume ever had. But he couldn't. Not yet. He lowered his eyes, his silence heavier than any denial could have been. Anna waited for him to speak, to defend her, to say something that would erase the sting of the rumors. But he said nothing, and silence, to her, was the cruelest answer of all. The next morning, an email was waiting in the HR inbox. Subject: resignation notice. From Anna Mitchell. She left no explanation, no angry words, just a date. And as Ethan sat in his office later that day, the photo of her studying under the flashlight burned in his mind. He realized too late that by protecting his secret, he had lost something far more valuable. Ethan couldn't stop replaying it. The look on Anna's face when she walked away, the resignation letter sitting cold in his inbox. For years, he had built walls around his identity, hiding behind his title as CEO. But now, that silence had cost him the one person who reminded him why he had started his journey at all. 3 nights later, he found himself outside a small cafe near the city's edge. Through the window, Anna sat alone, her books spread across the table, a cup of untouched coffee cooling beside her. She looked tired, but the determination in her eyes was still there, the same quiet fire that had once burned under a flashlight in the garage. He stepped inside, removing his coat. She glanced up, surprise flashing across her face. "You followed me," she whispered. "I let you down," Ethan said simply. He set a folder on the table. Inside, a contract bore her name, Junior Analyst, Carter Industries. Anna's breath caught. Why? Because you earned it long before the rumors. I should have spoken, but I stayed silent. And silence nearly cost me the chance to show you what I see in you. For a long moment, Anna didn't move. Then slowly, her eyes softened. All I ever wanted was for someone to believe in me. Ethan smiled faintly. Then let me start now. You followed me, she whispered. I let you down, Ethan said simply. He set a folder on the table. Inside, a contract bore her name. Junior Analyst, Carter Industries. Anna's breath caught. Why? Because you earned it long before the rumors. I should have spoken, but I stayed silent. And silence nearly cost me the chance to show you what I see in you. For a long moment, Anna didn't move. Then slowly, her eyes softened. All I ever wanted was for someone to believe in me. Ethan smiled faintly. Then let me start now. 1 year later, the new training center stood tall in the city, a place built for dreamers who studied in the dark, just like Anna once had. She walked its halls as a mentor, her voice steady, her spirit unbroken. And every night, when the lights dimmed, a single flashlight rested on her desk, a reminder that even the smallest light could change everything.